Hi, this video is to help with calculating federal income tax. A couple of examples. The first one will be very similar to one that you've already been working on. Jack and Samantha are married and filing jointly with a taxable income of $86,523. They are entitled to a children's tax credit of $3,000. Calculate their federal income tax owed in their situation by using the 2013 marginal tax rates table. So the first thing I'm going to draw attention to is the image from the book that kind of explains what you need to subtract to get down to finding their total tax. The first thing is the gross income. That isn't mentioned in our problem. In fact, it has already taken care of the gross, the adjusted gross, and it comes all the way to taxable income. So the book has already gotten us several steps into the taxing process. But just as a reminder, the gross income would be everything that's earned: wages, tips, interest earned at a bank account. That's the gross income. Then subtracting the adjustments to the income would be something like a 401k or something called an individual retirement account or an IRA, and so forth. That gives us the adjusted gross income. From this, we subtract deductions and exemptions. These are found on the tax table, and it's kind of small here. I do have a larger version down here. The standard deduction for single is here. We're doing married filing jointly, which is $12,200. Exemptions per person, $3,900 here. And so what we need to remember is that they've already done that here in this problem by subtracting the exemptions and the deductions. They've already given us the taxable income. So we don't have to go through all that. The only thing we need to worry about is computing the taxes using the table. So we're going to jump straight into the table. And then after that, we'll subtract the tax credits. There's lots of different tax credits. The most common is the child or dependent tax credit. And this one, they have that, and we'll subtract that after we calculate their tax. So oh, that's not what I needed. I need taxable income here. I apologize. There we go, taxable income. That was already given it to us at $86,523, and we're going to use that to find the total tax. So we're going to use the tax table here. We're doing married filing jointly. 10% at $17,850 up to that, and they've earned more than that, so we'll do 0.1 times, and I'm going to do a time sign here because I'm going to copy this into Excel and it'll calculate it for me, which is really nice. So we've earned more than this $17,850, so we'll put that down. Now we need to move up into the next bracket, which is 15%. This is taxed at 15% up to $72,500. They have earned more than that, so I can go straight to the top of that bracket, $72,500. But I'm not taxed on everything at 15% up to $72,500. I'm only taxed on the next bracket, so I need to subtract what I was already taxed in down here, which went up to $17,850. because that was already taxed at the 10%. Now I need to move to the next tax bracket, which is 25%. We'll come over, the bracket goes up to $146,400. Now this couple did not earn that amount. They are only going to be charged taxes on their amount. And so I'm not going to go all the way to the top of this bracket. They didn't go all the way. They only went to, I'm going to put a times, $86,523. Now again, I need to subtract because I'm not going to, they don't have to pay 25% of taxes on that entire amount, just the part that spills over into the 25%. So we need to subtract the one down, which is $72,500, because they were taxed already on the money previous. And I forgot to put a time sign right there. There we go. Now, just because this is fast, I'm going to copy this, come into Microsoft Excel, press equals to make it work like a calculator, and I'm going to press Control V to paste that over and press enter, and it calculated it for me. So my total tax will be, oh, in fact, I can even do this. We can, we'll just copy that. I was going to formulate it as money, but it'll be just as fast to do this and press Control V to paste it. There we go. Now that's their total taxes. But we're going to come back in here. Remember, after we find their total tax, we also, or their taxes based on the tables, we need to subtract tax credits. We were told they have $3,000 in tax credits. So I need to subtract $3,000, which gives me, is that 3,000? Yep, 10488.25. So that took their whole tax bill down by $3,000. Note in here, tax credits are more valuable than deductions and exemptions because that only takes a percentage, because it'll be multiplied by either 10%, 15%, or 25%, or so forth. This right here, the $3,000, is the full 100% of $3,000 comes off of that. And so it comes off their tax bill, and they only owe $10,000. And I'm going to come up here. I minimized my ribbon. Sorry, I'm going to highlight that because that is the answer. That is how much they owe in taxes. Now this will help you on a guided practice problem that a lot of you are struggling with. But just to go a little bit more in depth, if you'd like to stay with me in the video, I'm going to go a little further, which might be helpful for homework or a test or so forth. And I'm going to go through the entire thing. We're going to do gross income clear down to either owed or refund. So in this example, in 2013, Zach and Kelly earned $168,000 in wages and earned $1,200 in interest from their bank account. They are filing their taxes jointly. They contributed $9,000 to a 401k account. They have 3 children. They count as dependents and will receive $1,000 in tax credit for each one. Now it's important that I put in here that they count as dependents because you can have older children who are earning enough money on their own that they can no longer be considered dependent, and so they won't be qualified for dependent, or which will be on the exemptions, and the tax credit as well. In this case, they received the $1,000 tax credit for each one. They had $21,504.36 withheld from their paychecks in federal taxes. So that's their withholdings. Every month it's taken out of their paycheck already. Will they have a tax refund, or will they owe taxes, and by how much? So the first thing we're going to do is find the gross income. And I'm going to come back to this image here just to walk us through it. The gross income is everything that they've earned. So what we were told is they have $168,000, but they also earned $1,200 in interest. So in adding those together, we'll end up getting their total gross income, which gives us $169,200. And this is their gross income. Now we need to find the adjusted gross income. So we need to see, did we make any contributions? In this one, oops, I apologize, they contributed $9,000 to a 401k account. So here we're going to take our gross income, $169,200, and subtract, give us a space there, the $9,000 contribution to the 401k, which gives us $160,200. Okay, so now we have their adjusted gross income. From this, we need to subtract exemptions and deductions to find their taxable income. This is stating that for you can have all of this money that's not going to be taxed per person and your standard deduction. So we're going to take $160,200, and we want to subtract a standard deduction and the exemptions per person. This is per person in the household that they are claiming as dependent and themselves. We have Zach, Kelly, and 3 children. So we're going to take this exemption of 3,900 and times that by how many people? 5. So we're going to do 5 times 3,900. That's the exemptions. And in this case, we're going to not go in any further. Let's say that their itemized deductions did not exceed the standard, so we're going to go straight into the standard deduction of 12,200. Okay, and again, I'm just going to copy this and paste it into Excel instead of trying to type it into my calculator. I feel it's more accurate that way. I'm not going to be making any mistakes. Excel does not recognize commas, so I'll take that out. I have a multiplication sign between my number and the parenthesis. If I don't, Excel doesn't understand how to do that. I think everything's good. Nope. What did we miss? Do I have... Oh, I have some spaces in here. It's not liking those. And it took my subtraction signs and copied them as dashes. So now I think that's good. There we go. So I'm going to copy this and paste it right there. And that is our new taxable income. Actually, I missed a 0 here. Oops. Let's come back over here. I'm sorry. There should be one more 0. It was 12,000. Nope, 12,200. I didn't type the 2 in twice. Oops. That was my mistake. Glad we caught that. So I'm going to come back in here. That was 12,800, 128,500. Whew. Glad we fixed that before we went too far. And if we did, that's one of those things that doing these computations, they kind of snowball. So if you're off at the beginning, you'll be off at the end. So it's good to make sure that you check things as you go. And that would be right here, 12,200. Whew. Okay, the next thing, now that we have their taxable income, we can find their, we'll come up here, the taxable income. Now we use the table to compute their taxes, and then we'll go ahead and subtract tax credits and so forth. So here, what we did in the previous one, we will use our tax table down here, and we'll start at 10%, so 0.1 times, parentheses, 17,850, and close parenthesis, add 15% times, parenthesis. The next one, we're going to go up in the bracket, up to 72,500. Their taxable income is above that, so we're going to go straight to the top of that bracket at 72,500. But I'm not taxing them on all of that because I already taxed 10% of the first part, so I'm going to subtract 17,850. Then now we need to move to the 25%, so plus 0.25 times, open the parenthesis. In the 25% tax bracket, it goes up to 146,400. Their taxable income is not that high, so we are not going to go to the top of this bracket. We're only going to go to their taxable income, which is 128,500. And again, we're not going to tax them at 25% on all of that, so we need to subtract what we taxed in the previous ones, which was up to 72,500. Close parenthesis. Okay, now again, I'm just going to copy this in. Oops, copy. And then paste this into Excel, and yeah, we'll have to fix up a couple of things, but I think, oh, it looks good. I'm going to cross my fingers and press enter. There we go. Excellent. Copy this back in. Equals Control V. There we go. This is how much we calculated in taxes using our table. Now, we're not quite done. because we are now only two here. We did the tax computations. Now we need to subtract any tax credits. And they have 3 children that will receive $1,000 tax credit for each one. So that will be 3 times 1,000, which means tax credit time, this amount subtract 3 times, times 1,000 or 3,000, which will give me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 20. So take off the 3,000 gives me 20,982.50. And that is the excellent. That's how much their total tax is. So the tax credit subtracting off gives me the total tax, which is copy, paste, Control V. There, we have our total taxes. So that's right here, total taxes. But we also need to remember we have payments or withholdings already happening throughout the year from their wages. We were told that they had withheld from their paychecks $21,504.36. So I'm going to bring that, copy and paste it down here, which tells me that they paid more than they needed to. This is what they needed to pay. So I'm going to copy this, copy, subtract, paste, and I'm going to come back over into Excel. I'm going to just go ahead and subtract. I'm going to cell reference here, subtract my 3,000, just to give me my answer here of the 20,000. And now I'm going to type in my equals 21,504.36 minus, and I'm going to cell reference this so I don't have any other typos. I've had plenty already today. Press enter, and that tells me how much money they get as a refund because they overpaid. So $521.86. And we're going to highlight that. They get this money back, so I'm even going to state this is a refund. Refund time. All right, I hope that was helpful to see a couple of these worked out. If you have questions, feel free to email me. Good luck, guys.